logo definition.
Right now, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of, please come help us, because we're just, you know, we're a small staff.
If we keep going to town hall, it's going to be.
That's a bad or a good omen, I don't know.
This also could be a subcommittee of town council.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could.
What representation of it?
I'm not against it, I just don't wanna have a committee that nobody shows up on, or they don't have good direction or focus, and it just flops. That doesn't seem
We
good.
would have to definitely sell it, right? We'd have to define it well, define what the action items are, when, the type of people we're looking for, the skill sets we're asking for, and then what kind of commitment that means too. Is it a year, is it 2 years, is it, are we meeting monthly, quarterly, what's going on there?
But we had an appearance commission at one time.
Mm-hmm.
That did really well for a while.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, and it fizzled. I served on it for a little while.
So if we like the idea, the next step in this process is gonna be, what does success look like for it? So how do we define that specificity? So do I hear that everybody likes that idea and we can work towards defining it?
Define what, tell me again.
Defining what a business committee would
Okay.
look like or do, or who would be on it, yeah.
And they need really good connection with the town, because that was one of the issues with the appearance commission. Is I felt like we were over here in the corner, and we really didn't get a good connection with town management or the council at that time.
I think it makes sense to almost make it a subcommittee of council and then have a few, you know, business folks and whomever else on there. But, what do y'all think? Mr. Mayor?
I think it'd be fine. I think if there is somebody, I think we should explore the possibility of seeing if there's interest in the community.
Yeah.
As with any other, I think more involvement we get, the better. And I think some of that would be being delivered by who you pick, and them having a clear idea of what their goals are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so. But I think it could be made up of some town council, and then
Business owners and
a
residents.
business owner, or, you know, just a couple of interested. Some of the people say, we need a new grocery store, say, hey, by the way, you know, you wanna help us get one, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we gotta be careful too that we don't limit it to just formal or proper Boiling Springs residents, but maybe some of the people that are, you know, literally across the street from the town line that want to be involved, but don't feel like they can because they're not inside the city limits, so.
And it may even be something that we, find some people from the Town and County Advisory Board that would be willing to kind of be on that as well. Okay. Next category is quality of life and placemaking. So we've got recreation is our highest rated one, recreation and murals, then Earl Scruggs and events. Do we see these combining into the same one? Or why do we have two different votes there? What are your thoughts? It's probably pickleball. That's what all the extra comments are for. So.
Yeah, so I'll just say that the purple one was mine, recreation and rentals, because I felt like there was such an overlap on placemaking in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we want to bunch it together with the top voted one, I think the intent is still there, right? Like,
What do you think? So somebody there are two votes for this one. So are we okay putting murals under recreation and then kind of making that all? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
I'll just add it on here.
I really think if we work that recreation and the loop thing, that could be a big draw for the town. I think there would actually be people coming in just for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so our other two were Earl Scruggs and then events, which also mentioned Earl Scruggs. What do we think that goal or objective looks like? Is it events? Are we also partner with Earl Scruggs, or is this something separate? Or
Well, I didn't put one on it, but I'm very much in favor of their old Scruggs, you know, just to have that too, but, I'm very much partner with the Earl Scruggs Center, especially with the information we shared here today, so I just probably put a dot on it, didn't necessarily mean I didn't think it was worth it.
Well, I think really those two are defined by community engagement. I mean, with events connected to the Earl Scruggs Center, I mean,
Although I'm not sure that I consider necessarily that would be recreation, you know what I mean? You know, events at the Earl Scruggs, you know, might or might not have anything to do with recreation.
I just didn't see Earl Scruggs standing alone, I mean, say if you got Earl Scruggs house and moved it somewhere, it just standing alone. Sure, it would draw some interest from people who are specifically interested, but if it's not tied into some type of events and stuff, I don't know how it's even promoted. I don't know.
I think that makes sense. So yeah, I think maybe is the broader thought, you know, events and community engagement, and then that includes, you know, having or continuing the Music on Main events, and then maybe having future events and partnerships with Earl Scruggs. Is that kind of what we're thinking?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Earl Scruggs is up there specifically because, maybe you wrote it up there, you can expand on this, but we don't want to lose sight of it while we're working on overall events too, right?
All right, so if I add a little note about music on Main and community engagement. I hope it doesn't bleed on the window. How do we feel about that? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. And I will say, town manager will still have a proposal from Foothills on what it would look like to work on housing and those other areas, but we'll definitely still kind of include that in there. So staffing, included staffing, and staff. I don't know if this dot fell off of here or not, it fell from somewhere, so, okay. So staffing, focus on future needs, and then staffing, specifically planning and code enforcement. Are these the same, are these different? What do those mean to you?
I think they're basically the same.
I think they're the same.
yeah.
Okay. So if I just focus on future needs and I lump plan and code down into here, can I take this one down?
Yep.
Okay.
But I think it's really important to remember the benefits on that, because we're not gonna get staffing if we don't continue to be competitive on benefits.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't vote on my own, is because I felt like staffing was the overall
Yeah.
arching, the category that says itself, or there's so much that goes with it.
Yeah, Tommy said it a million times, you know, if we won't get people to stay here, what is it, Tommy? You gotta pay them, you gotta give them opportunity, you gotta give them benefits, and then that comes right back to the citizens and quality of work. Right? So,
Yep.
All right. Is everybody good? Anybody need a break? Keep going? All right. So you don't have to look up there. We're gonna stay back here, but again, the intent next is to do some goal setting. So think about what success looks like for each of these ideas, and think about SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So we want to have something that we can come back in 6 months and say the goal was to complete this by year end, or the goal was to complete it by the end of the budget year, those type of things. So if we take it one by one, business recruitment, Town Commons Plaza, what does success look like for Town Commons Plaza? Is it a building being built there? Is it construction plans? Is it path forward? I have the timeline in your packets that we looked at a few months ago to kind of take some incremental steps there. Is it taking the next step of retail strategies and kind of just developing a plan to continue to pursue it? How big of a chunk are we looking at?
I think the safe strategic step for town governments would be, let's hear what the results are of the retail strategy discussion first.
Okay.
Make substantial funds into development construction documents to secure financing, if, hopefully not, we get, you know, negative input from the retail strategy discussions. So, I would hesitate to even really commit to any other actions until we know what those deliverables look like.
And one thing that, I think that's a good suggestion. The only other thing I wanna add to it is if everybody feels like we really want those buildings, we really want them to be built, let's set that as a goal, and staff can go after grant money or go after partnerships and try and make that happen. I think logically, probably for this planning session, that is a good next step, but if that's the goal that we wanna have, let's, say that, let's not be, inhibited by, spending that money, yeah.
I think it's a goal we should have. We should have done.
Okay.
I have yet to mention that to anybody that doesn't support that idea. And I made it a point, that when this situation presented itself, to mention that to me. I've not heard anybody say, oh, no, that's crazy.
I've got some initial hesitation when I mentioned it, and then I showed the renderings,
Yeah,
all of that.
and I had that same thing myself. Initially, I thought, oh, no, that's a bad idea. But the more I saw and the more I thought about it,
I agree with the timeline shown in the steps of the town commons plaza printout here. I'm wondering, if we're just kind of doing some combat math on timeline. I think it might be a little bit of a stretch goal, but still reachable to have buildings built and tenants in place by the end of 26.
Yeah.
2.5 years,
Mhm.
basically. So do we put that down as a target date, by start of 27, we have active tenants in place?
Yeah, we could do that, and we can, I think that if the goal is to build the buildings by X date, then we're still following that timeline to kind of get there, but yeah.
I like it. I think we're not to recreation loop yet, but I think physically, this offers a physical, boundary with that entire loop. It encloses that front part of, town hall. I think it works out.
Okay.
Well, I think we need to have a goal in mind of who are we looking to recruit? Are we, so you need to probably potential tenants and people that would be interested. Not just have a building there or something. I think that's the marketing / recruitment, potential tenant whole thing. I think that's a huge component of that whole goal, is to try to figure out who's gonna go there and what's the partnership gonna look like.
Yeah, I can agree.
Okay.
But retail strategies tells us that ends up not being such a lucrative idea, then maybe we should focus on town hall for the next, old town hall for the next. We probably want to do both of them at the same time, it's a matter of which one comes up first.
Okay. So then are we rethinking something of continuing to follow the timeline to build the buildings, but then I think in the timeline is a check-in after the retail strategies workshop, so work towards it, but have this check-in still.
Yeah.
That sound good? Okay. Quality alignment placement. I remember Googling if placemaking was 2 words or 1 word. I don't know, I still remember. Yeah. So we've got recreation, loop, pickleball, murals. What does success look like for recreation in terms of quality of life and placemaking? we've got the master planning process kind of almost started. So keep that in mind, but, what else?
Well, I think within that master planning, you know, hopefully the Y is gonna get their money, but I think moving forward with what we would like to see on those, on that second phase of the park, on those fields, I think within, whatever, this year, we have our vision about what we want to do, not necessarily just sit around and wait on what the Y is gonna do.
I totally missed, the things that are covered up by the easel on business committee, so we'll come back to that one, but,
Pick the top ones of each.
yeah, all I can see is those. So evaluating the park and the usage of that space. Any other thoughts there while we're on recreation?
So do we have an events committee, still working events committee, or is it just a?
No, we've got a couple of people that have mentioned they're willing to help out with events, but it's not anything that's a formal committee.
Because music on Main and those type of connectivity things are gonna sort of be a catalyst if we can continue doing our, you know, web stock, or if it's music on Main, or if it's Earl Scruggs Day, whatever that looks like, right? Having somebody help steer that.
And part of the master planning process will include a lot of public engagement, and we'll have a steering committee, so it may be that some of the folks that are more heavily involved and interested in that planning process sort of evolve into the events committee. So I think continuing to push forward with the master planning process, and I think for recreation, that's good. I almost think events committee could go under the community engagement or events next section. So are we good with just moving forward with the master planning process as one sort of objective and initiating that? Okay. And we could probably even phrase that as completing that. That should take 6 or 8 months, so it should be done by this time next year. So events, community engagement, what does success look like there? Is it a committee? Is it specific events? Is it continuing our current events, more events?
Well, our signature event now is Webstop, right? That's our big focus, right? To a certain extent. And that's where I was talking about, you know, hog happening, those type of things. Most cities have a signature event. And, this is a good building year, a continuation of that.
One, is that our joint event? And then do we wanna work towards having another signature event that's just our own, that's a hog happening? Do we just?
I would
want
say
to-
one of our own. I mean, I would want to include Garden Web and Livestock, but,
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to have, this Tommy company, take it, ball and run with Webstop. We get left out, so we need our own.
I agree, I think we need our own, I think it's fine to have those, but I think we have to be concerned with our own identity, not always a joint identity. I think we need one of our own. I mean, they have events of their own, we should have, and then we should have some together.
Okay. Any other specifics there? I think the good feedback during the discussion was to continue the conversation with Earl Scruggs. I don't know that we need to mention that, although we could. Any other thoughts on events and community engagement?
Well, we'll just see how the 4 music on Main events go, and then, you know, hopefully we'll determine, is that enough, too much, or we want more?
They're gonna be great.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we go back to business committee? So we talked a little bit about it, but what does success look like for a business committee? Is it a group of citizens? Is it a group of council and citizens that has some specific objectives to accomplish for the town?
I think it's a group of council members and some staff with some direction on, you know, what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think if you have too many people involved, well, that's a whole argument for having more engagement. But if you're trying to get to maybe consensus and to a fine focus of what it is that we want Bowling Springs to look like, then you do that with a subcommittee of town council members and some select staff. I think it's easier to communicate and to work then.
I mean, ultimately, council members here are here to represent those business owners, right? So how do we get boots out on the ground and go knock on doors in theory and talk to those business owners to represent them well in that committee?
And that group can put together, you know, a survey for business owners if we need to actually gauge
Yeah.
what their needs or concerns are.
And they could also help with some of the regulation side of it if there's, you know, some specific things that we need to regulate. Then they can make recommendations based on that, and that's where the staff would be really important. I think Pat talked about the fact, you know, if you got this vacant building that's an eyesore and a problem, and and it just sits there, and that hurts our business efforts all the way around.
Okay, what else?
Do we leave it up to the committee to define what their deliverables and their due dates are, or do we define that?
Good question.
And then if we let them define their deliverables and does that have to be approved by the overall council before we?
Well, and maybe the first step is for staff to coordinate the establishment of a committee that'll come up with goals by X
Yeah.
date. So what's a reasonable time frame for some of us to get together? Just right after this meeting.
Let's say middle of July, probably. I mean, by the time you get enough interest and have find a schedule for everybody and actually meet and discuss. Let's call it the end of March already.
Yeah.
So April, May, June, making some 3-4 months.
All right, everybody good with that? Sometime in July? By the 1st of July? Okay. Any other thoughts on business recruitment, Town Commons Plaza Business Committee? Sub-goal of Broad River Greenway office, but staff will work on that. Good? All right. So, staffing. What does success look like for the future of staffing? Staff?
We hire a grant writer and they get us a $15 million grant a year.
Per year.
Is that 50 or 15?
I first said 50, then I said 15.
I mean, I guess you can probably vote for the council's income to go up.
We talked about, we talked about code enforcement, we talked about planning, we talked about benefits, all of that in terms of recruitment. We did talk about grant writing.
Personally, I would charge you with coming back to us with a recommendation on what the staffing needs are.
Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, I would look to you to say, you know, based on where we are and everything, here's what I propose we need, and then we start from there and say, well, I agree, I don't agree, or we can't do that, we can't afford it, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, one part of the goal last year, I think, was for us to have those discussions about different positions and things during the budget process, so, I mean, that sounds like a similar sort of recommendation this year to reevaluate that, talk about it again. Is that fair?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
I appreciate the market study we did for the staffing, competitive wages, and I would expect somewhat of a similar approach. We're using analytics and data to help us with the business justification of each one of those subcategories.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. What else? Okay. Infrastructure. So we don't have any specific goals underneath there, but what does success look like for the future of our infrastructure? For the future of your infrastructure, that's facilitated.
Continue to pursue the extension policy. That's the big one.
And what does, I'm gonna drill down a little bit on that, what does the future of that look like? Is it more public input? Is it another review at a council meeting? Several of you were at the first meeting, and I know I've had some follow-up conversations with folks since then. Seems like there's still some questions and things out there, so, okay. And we can have another public input meeting. What do you think? What have you heard?
I'm torn because the public input meeting seemed pretty successful, it was a decent turnout.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's not an opportunity to share more on it. Is there anything on our website yet about it?
Yeah, so the PowerPoint from the meeting, the recording of the meeting, and then I think the draft policy is on the website. I don't know how much we put that on social media, we could share that more.
Okay.
Try and push it out there.
Yeah.
I hadn't really had many people asking about it since we had the meeting. Of course, I know that several people were there from Hunter's Point neighborhood. I just wondered, was there any follow-up from them back to you after that meeting? Yes?
I talked to the, Jeff, I think it was, that's chair of the HOA, and he asked for all that information, so I sent him the page on the website. And actually talked to a resident that lives there that was asking me some questions, cause he got the information from Jeff, and he said Jeff was very interested in it. I know another resident's interested in it. I can't tell if BA was that interested in it or not, but they're the ones that I've heard from the most. And from this is probably broader, longer term, but from a public feedback kind of perspective, they're a fairly easy project in Hunter's Point. I mean, it's all flows to the back of the neighborhood and connects on the line we've got there. So if there was ever one to do, and then, you know, it kind of stir up some conversations and things in the community, that would probably be the potential one. But that's, again, it's a little process that was established. So, and we have to adopt it. It's still not an adopted policy.
Maybe that's the path, is we give an option for one more public feedback and make sure that there's plenty of channels to communicate it through.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the year, based off of that secondary feedback round, we establish a policy and then see if anybody leverages it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would hurt to have one more meeting. I
I
don't
don't
know
know what we need to do.
how many people will show up, but it's, you know,
We did our due diligence.
so you get,
One more meeting and then establish the policy and see if it gets used.
I would,
And we won't know if it's not good until we try it,
mhm.
right?
Sure, yeah, I would, sorry, I was having a thought when you said that, sorry.
Provided it, they tried to promote it in our neighborhood, Marty, I live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
We could a little bit, if they have another meeting come up. I think I shared the post that with the meeting gonna be, we didn't have anybody show up from our neighborhood.
I don't think we put it in the newsletter yet, so we'll put it in the newsletter. And I'd be open to one day just scheduling, like at lunchtime, a virtual meeting where if people wanted to jump on and ask questions.
That's a good idea, I was
I'll
kinda
make Grayson
thinking
do
that
that.
way too a little bit, want to try Zoom or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And then we can take 10 minutes to overview it and then answer questions or something. Okay. All right, what else does success look like under infrastructure? I know we've talked about the future of our water connections.
I don't think we wanna let off the gas pedal for the poles at the intersection, the traffic lights.
Okay, yep.
Especially since we know that DOT is waiting to give us the money
Mm-hmm.
based off of, design completion and.
That would be a big thing, citizens, I think would appreciate that.
Yeah, I know, I think we get more.
Shelby's got turn lights
Anything else we're talking about.
on every intersection in Shelby, but they don't use them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Well,
would-
they got them, they don't use them.
That would be, so that would be the mast arm poles, and with those changes, we put in the protected left turns. I think last I heard it was they're only fully protected during certain hours of the day, but the rest of the time they're flashing yellow, so it's during rush hour and in the evenings,
Yeah,
they're working, but.
Is it possible to even be at a stage where we're ready to be starting or in construction by the end of the year?
Probably not, just because of the fact we'd have to bid the project out, and then we'd have to give the contractor time to start. And
Lead time and
giving,
stuff.
giving them a longer lead time would help us probably, and they probably would start till the spring.
What, are we done with the design? We're just kind of holding tight, or is it halfway done through concept, or?
I think it's about 3/4 of the way done. She's just waiting on Duke Energy to finalize
Okay.
their plans before she puts everything on top of it, kind of. So once the stuff's underground, we can figure out where everything's gonna go and,
Good.
and start the input.
Good.
All right. Any
What
other?
about the Hillcrest improvement beacon, is that phone or that?
We should be getting that from DOT. They've, I was on the email where they requested that be ordered and put in, so, I don't know what the timeline is for that, but, I know it's coming.
Cause those are real things that impact people immediately and.
Yeah.
It's an achievable goal pretty quickly.
All right, other thoughts on infrastructure or on anything else?
You Old Town Hall?
Oh, I mean, sure.
Before we go on to town hall, do we still have anything going on with Lattimore Sewer? What's going on?
We have the agreement that's for 2 years, and we're just basically gathering data and gonna
Okay.
discuss it. The only sort of upcoming thing is during the budget process, I have to make a decision on what to do with their rate. Last year we held it, so we had an evaluation, and now do we wanna continue to do that, or do we wanna increase it?
I do recall that from last couple meetings. Good.
Alright. Old Town Hall. What does success look like for Old Town Hall?
It's
You
fall.
have 6 minutes.
Well, I think the big thing we would continue to fall back on was, you know, cost analysis, and that's a request for proposal on what's feasible to do and what's not feasible to do. And I don't know, is that through the Institute of Government, is that through, I mean, who does the study on those type of things?
Hey Grayson, can you have that done for you?
I got it, yeah.
I just had this crazy thought, could we condemn their part for the eminent domain? Is it very good?
I'd be happy to look into it for you then.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna get there, one of robbing the bomb.
He needs some silly string too.
Hey, it might be good for a threat. No, that was just,
That's a good way to get headlines real quick.
but we might get support for it from the community.
So yeah, working through the RFP process, looking at the, cost of the different options, and then even from the RFP, what those options are. What's an achievable timeline for that?
I think you can have an RFP out by probably the start of May and a proposal back in June, so by July first, by the July council meeting, have something to review.
Okay.
It might be a little aggressive, but, I don't wanna be here in a year going, hey, we should have done an RFP.
Well, we're sort of at the mercy of whoever would do the study and who would accept that, right? I mean, there's probably a limited number of people that can do those type of studies. And so, I would think that at the earliest, maybe at the end of, in the fall, to have something, sort of an idea of. Because I'd hate to move too quickly on it and not get any study or positive.
Right. Well, I guess, that would be an expectation of what their proposal lays out, is deliverable timeline, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's reasonable for everything that we're asking of you, we don't know, right? Is it 1 month, is it 4 months?
And it's gonna be a very unique situation too.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna have to be
The structure
crafted,
that we're talking about is gonna be very unique.
it'll have to be crafted specifically to us, right? I mean, how many other towns have this situation?
Well, let's say, maybe town manager, maybe facilitator, an RFP for council to approve to send out by July 1.
Yeah,
And then if that timeline is 90 days or 6 months or something, then we'll have that built in there.
yeah, we kinda have front-end loaded, you haven't.
There is part of it, you send out that RFP and you will not get any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah, this budget's unique.
City planner can take that on July 1.
Yeah.
Yes, July. Other thoughts on their town?
Well, I think we still need to have continued conversation with Gardner Webb. I don't know if it's conversation, negotiation, whatever it is that we need to kind of be accomplishing there.
Stakeholder relationships there.
You know, cause one town council meeting, I forgot who it was that was there, when we mentioned that, he said, well, they were willing to talk, like they were, but it sounded to me like they've not done much talking, except just listening.
What do you mean was the topic?
He said, well,
Yeah,
good,
well,
was on the street, one of those
Yeah.
council meetings. Yeah, you guys gave Waycaster.
Yeah, I think it was.
But, yeah, actually, in that meeting with Downs and Waycaster, I said something about that, and Downs looked at Waycaster and he was like, yeah, I did say that. I don't think you wanted to say it, but yeah.
Well, we just need to continue the pressure, not pressure, right, the dialogue, because if not, then it just gets pushed to the back.
I think it's fair to say we'll trust your strategic approach to leverage the discussion about enrollment cliff.
Yes.
It's like, look, we know what you guys are looking at,
That's right.
what are you thinking about?
And maybe
Well, that's
pretty
helpful.
soon, if it goes down for them, they have room to move that across.
Well, that's true, yeah. Okay, other thoughts here? Alright, any other thoughts on the topics we've already covered that maybe came to mind while we were going through the other ones? I think that's some good guidance and good goals for us. I don't know, let's see if I got the other slides.
I do want to mention that the donations that we gave to PALS for the book notes, those are being set up or seen in, part of the town. And, the Dirt Dog laundry does, for the two locations that we reached out to, so.
Awesome.
Because again, we put out our.
Alright, so I got just maybe like 5 more minutes. I'm gonna go through a quick sort of just recap of today. Almost the next time, so this is a, sort of, it's called a plus delta. So first we go through things that we liked about today. We could all just kind of go around and everybody say one thing that they liked. And then we're gonna do this one first, but the next one is gonna be things that we would do differently. But first, what did we like about today? What worked? What went well? Mr. Green, go.
And I think anytime we're together and we can talk about things that we don't have time to do in a town council meeting, I think it's great. And I think we become a tighter unit every time.
All right.
I do think it works better when everyone is here.
I was here, don't leave me like that.
So, I mean, seriously, I think if there's any way, when we do a calendar, naturally, it's better if everybody's here. I understand there's reasons why that can't happen, but
I think the location's really good.
I think the location's great.
Me too.
Yeah.
Although I was a little leery the first time you mentioned it, but. Or maybe there's an ulterior motive there. But I wasn't even aware of it, so.
I think the planned agenda helps us keep on strategic focus and not go too far in the weeds on problem solving.
Okay.
Planned agenda.
Yeah, I like the planned agenda, and that we're just sort of all purpose driven here. We have an idea of, what we like, but we have a greater collective voice. So I don't know how you need to put that, but was it Daniel that mentioned that even though sometimes we don't agree, we can still come to a consensus, and, it's a good atmosphere to work. I've been in much more difficult situations to have discussions.
I like the atmosphere. I feel like everybody gets a chance to put their say in there. And we're not voting on anything, so I feel like we're not making an angle to try to garner a vote.
Sure. Stan, anybody? What went well? What'd you like? Mike, you wake up there?
No, I agree. I think discussion is great. I think it helps us to know what y'all are thinking, get us in that direction you wanna see us go over the next year. Like Mr. Green said, we don't have a lot of time in council meeting to drill down to some of these things, so I think the discussion is great for us.
I agree, I think it helps the staff to know what your priorities are.
Anything else? All right.
I will chime in, I was gonna get staff members, but, Mr. Mayor's, state of the town was a good set up for the tone of the discussion.
All right. Anything else? Okay. What should we do differently? What didn't you like? Is it too hot, too cold, food?
There was no breakfast.
No breakfast, were the exercises helpful? Would you like more time to talk about specific things? What can we change for next year?
I would like to hear a little more input from staff, and I'm not saying that they didn't give input today, but it would be interesting to see if staff did a similar exercise like we did today, and we weren't in the same, or we could be in the same.
You go back there.
And see how they matched up. But you guys actually have to do the work. We can sit here and come up with all kinds of ideas, but I'm not the one in there pulling the plow in and everything.
Mhm.
No, but your ideas will then give us the opportunity to build on them and, cause I'm already thinking of, you know, talking about the business committee and it's very hard for me to not be part of the conversation, but we'll have that opportunity, staff as a group, to have that opportunity to talk. And all I'm just gonna tell you is, think about this, business redevelopment for the community as a whole. It can address your business needs to grow, it can address revitalization for the downtown, and at the same time, draw in community involvement.
And it's a little different, but, earlier this week, we did a run-through, with the staff.
Okay.
And so it looked different, the agenda and everything before, so we tweaked it a little bit based on that. That was more, trying to make sure we weren't here till 8 PM or anything, but,
Okay.
but yeah, we kinda did a run through it, and I think, you know, Tracy's right that it helps us, you know, we know how we can best carry out some of those things, but it's hard for us to say, all right, well, here's an idea we've got, but is council gonna, you know, be on board with that? Do they wanna prioritize it? So this is helpful to kinda hear your thoughts. All right, so what else can we do different next year? We still have toys over there, so I got enough of those. Anything?
Did you like the food?
Sorry, man.
That was good.
This is awesome.
Just put aligning schedules and calendars, since Mr. Green mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like Saturday mornings.
Okay, all right.
But I also don't want staff and everybody to have to be subjected to the 6 to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night after working all day too, so.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be good input for them, and rather do that, or do they give up for Saturday morning?
I'd rather give up a Saturday
Exactly.
morning. It's rough when you work 8 hours and then you have to come back and work several hours at night.
Just take half a day off.
You know, that's-
We'll approve that. We'll approve that.
Or we
Yeah,
could
we
close
can
the
always
office
say
down
yes.
half a
You
day.
could close the
But
office half a
seriously,
day,
you could close the office half day or something.
make it on Friday afternoon.
I wouldn't be opposed to Fridays.
It's just March Madness is going on, it's my wife's birthday.
Holy.
This time.
Now we're getting to the gritty of it. Now we're-
Talk about
We're
aligning
doing
calendars.
List to do on Saturday morning.
All right, we're gonna take 20 out of Mark's life.
I hate it for you, when I knew it was Saturday, I looked at the calendar.
Oh, no. But no, I also don't wanna put too much pressure on the staff. I mean, like I said, I know having worked all day and then have to be there for a 3-hour meeting or whatever, it's very difficult, time consuming. So, if we could make it workable for everybody during a workday, that'd be good too.
Sure.
Another thing I would like to is, and would be like if we come up with something and one of them knows something that we don't, and we're, oh, well, let's move here to that, but there's a, uh-oh here, you know, that ain't gonna work. I would hope they would feel calm enough to share that with us by saying, hey, you know, that sounds good and it looks good, but here's, wait, something you might wanna consider for that. So I would hope they would feel comfortable enough in saying that.
And unless there's something I don't know about, if we had come, town manager had, if we had come to something like that, I'd probably called on Mike or Rhonda or somebody to say, you know, is that a feasible thing that we could work toward? But, I think everything we've talked about today is doable. Don't say anything now, guys. But I think also as we go back and develop this plan for you to adopt, we'll talk about those things too. So specific roadblocks we might hit that we may need to adjust some of that stuff for.
And we may need, I didn't mind Chris, I didn't like him at first, I'll be honest with you. After I got to know him a little bit, he was okay, but, we may not need you to do this every time, we may need another person. That way you don't feel,
Yeah, it was terrible.
Two hats.
I don't do it now.
I think you have to wear all these hats.
No, it's all right.
Hey, don't worry, they're all the same hat.
No, I think I was talking to Noah about it during the break, and it's, you know, last year we didn't really have much to work off of, so it's nice to have a third party that could kind of do that mediation, but this year we're all kind of on the same page, and we have some goals that are carried over, so it was
Yeah.
fairly easy.
I mean, I agreed, we didn't need a person this time.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm just saying, don't always rule it out.
no, yeah, for sure. Chris, be happy to come back.
Yeah, I think he did such a good job last year that it structured this year's. I mean,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
very similar, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at some point, if it becomes stale and we need a different direction, then that's when you consider a consultant again.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I do have one thing,
Yeah.
I think that this all is great, and this is wonderful for us, and, you know, I'm sure we'll get some pictures of it and all that kind of thing, but we talked, at our staff meeting preparing for it, is some, like, kind of digital ways to capture this, just to make sharing it easier, and maybe just inviting people into the process, so, you know, you remember Justin had the circle with all the ideas in it, you know, you can get a program on your phone and you type in what your priorities are and it pops up and it makes it bigger or smaller based on what the submission, you know, the answers are, and that would be something we could put on our website and show like council in action, you know, here's what they did, other than just, you know, we'll probably have some nice presentation or something that we'll put up, but to actually show them like, this is what they discussed. I don't know if y'all would want that or not, but that's,
You took the words out of my mouth, Eric,
What's that?
digitizing the exercises.
It's almost like instant survey results.
I think it would be good for them to know.
now, right, so.
And
I
to let
mean,
them know.
what the heck, we have to vote electronically now.
Yeah.
What the heck?
There's nothing great, I mean, I think it was great today, and to let people know that y'all came in and did this, and that it was so successful, and it had such positive results. I mean, we should tell them that.
Yeah, provide that transparency.
All right, other thoughts? Changes for next year? More planes, obviously, that's what I'm gonna put, but, I think it was good.
See if we can jet turn.
Mm-hmm.
If you could find a plane large enough for us all, then maybe somebody we don't like, we just, somebody bombs, they just.
I'll make sure I'm not the red, Tommy.
If you see that plane rental budget line item, that's what that's for.
Right, or Justin fly somewhere next year.
That's right. Two at a time. All right, any other final thoughts on key takeaways or anything like that? Changes? All right. So plans for next steps is, we'll take all of these goal priorities and we'll make a plan that that's similar to what we had last year. And we'll bring it to you all for approval, maybe in April. And have something to keep working on till this time next year.
Very good.
All right. You want to make any closing remarks, Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you.
All right.
Good enough.
Thanks.
Good job.
There you go.
Second, third.
Thank you all.